Welcome to Politics Tonight. Stay with us. We will be right back. Welcome back and thank you very much for staying with us. And now to some developments in the polity. President Bola Tinubu has instructed service chiefs and heads of other security and intelligence agencies to deal with anyone involved in oil theft, as his administration will not tolerate economic crime. President Tinubu also said he is determined to build on the gains of the previous administration in the fight against insecurity, reverse the misfortunes and turn around the tides. The president said this when he convened the National Security Council meeting to get briefs from service chiefs and outline his plan to reform security in the country. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akwande reports.
The new commander-in-chief of the armed forces meets his service chiefs for the first time after the presidential inauguration. President Bola Tinubu has said security will be the top priority of his administration, and he will reform both the security doctrine and its architecture. This meeting with security chiefs that lasted for about 2 hours is matching words with action.
The president has made it very, very clear that he's determined to build on whatever gains have been made and to reverse misfortunes and turn the tide in our favor. As far as he is concerned, this country should not be on its knees struggling while other countries are walking.
The National Security Advisor says President Tinubu admits he does not have the luxury of time as insecurity continues to ravage some parts of the country, and he has mandated security agencies to come up with a blueprint to reform Nigeria's security architecture.
There must be a clearing house. All agencies must work to achieve one single purpose. Working at cross purposes and colliding with each other is not something that he will condone. He's going to embark on a lot of reforms in terms of our security architecture. He's going to take a closer look at our misfortunes in the maritime domain, focusing particularly on the issues of oil theft. That he is not going to tolerate. Wherever the problem is coming from, it must be crushed as soon as possible.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Eyiboh, also disclosed that new directives have been issued on ways to guarantee the security of lives and property. He says his team is inspired and re-energized to execute the orders of President Bola Tinubu.
The security disposition across the country to be. And so we have left Mr. President fired with that mandate and to realign our interventions to fit the expectations, not just of Nigerians, of course, with the mandate that Mr. President has given to us.
President Bola Tinubu has inherited a security situation that has grown from bad to worse, despite the huge government spending on defense. It most times seems as if the emerging security threats overwhelms Nigeria's armed forces and the police. As the new administration sets to work, its performance would likely be judged based on the prevailing security situation in the country. Femi Akwande, TVC News, Abuja.
Members of the House of Representatives have thrown their weight behind President Bola Tinubu on the phase-out of fuel subsidy regime. The lawmakers, however, called for a proper regulatory framework to sanitize the system. National Assembly correspondent Jackie Adisa tells us more.
Nigeria, as Africa's biggest oil producer, has constantly come under fire from the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund for the heavy financial burden it carried in providing subsidies on fuel. The organizations argued that the money spent on subsidies could be better spent on other essential services such as healthcare, infrastructure, and education. Indeed, attempts by previous administrations to take the bull by the horns have always been met with stiff opposition, particularly from organized labor. The Buhari government could also not muster enough will to tackle the Hydra-headed monster. But the 2023 Appropriation Act put paid to fuel subsidy as inherited by the Tinubu government. Nigeria's oil company, NNPC Limited, says although there was provision for subsidy in the budget up to June 30, there was no money to fund it. But while they empathize with Nigerians on the new price regime, these lawmakers say removing subsidy is the way to go.
In reality, we are subsidizing neighboring countries. And as such, it is better to remove the subsidy and deploy those resources to our much needed infrastructure.
Can't buy a full tank as one who earns the minimum wage. One tank is more than the minimum wage.
The National Assembly, which I belong to up to today, voted for subsidy to end in June.
The lawmakers also seek needed palliatives to cushion the effects of the subsidy removal.
There should be mass transportation available. The facility to move people from one point to the other should be available so that it will be cheaper. People must go to work. People must go to school.
NLC is progressive in nature. They should be able to sit down with Mr. President, and help him, to streamline this direction.
The reality is that it's a very few cabal that benefit from this whole subsidy issue.
It is on record that all the leading presidential candidates in the last general election in Nigeria pledged to take the bold step and remove fuel subsidy if elected. Their argument was predicated on the need to better impact the lives of the average citizen who benefits the least in the fuel subsidy chain. Jokeyadsa, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, let's take a short break, and when we return, it will be time to speak with our guest of the day, who is a former spokesperson of the House of Representatives, as well as public affairs commentator, Honorable Eseme Eyiboh, for discussion on national institutions and the leadership question in the Tinubu presidency. Stay with us.
What is better than your view on weekdays? Your view on the weekend. Something special, something more. We have an extra dose of premium television experience. Your Saturday is about to get upgraded with more engagement, information, and special moments.
Let me speak PG. English is a problem. Don't see your parents finish. Yes. I don't know another English. Do you want to know? Finish.
Join us from Saturday, the 15th of April, 2023 at 9 a.m. for the weekend edition of Your View. Join the intelligent, dynamic, inspiring, and fearless ladies of Your View as they have the difficult conversation,
the thuggery and intimidation,
breaking down barriers and defining the narrative. Save the date as we count down to the weekend edition of the most exciting talk show on Nigerian television.
Reporters on the field,
taking you through as it happens.
It's fast-paced, hard-hitting,
with investigations that matter.
bringing in news that affects your life.
With sports, entertainment, and business news, so you don't miss a thing.
Experience resourceful coverage with depth
Every night.
Never miss a moment. Instant breaking news from all over the globe. Live streaming of your favorite programs delivered directly to you. Watch anytime from anywhere on your mobile or smart devices. Download the TVC News app today. Available on Google Play and Apple Store.
Welcome back. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And now to our interview with the guest of the day, I am joined by a former spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Honorable Eyiboh, for discussion on national institutions and the leadership question in the Tinubu presidency. Honorable Eyiboh is also a public affairs commentator. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Honorable.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you tonight here.
So, the new administration is in place with Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president. What's your view about the new administration?
I will not be talking as the chieftain of the All Progressive Congress, but I'm going to talk from the standpoint of being a citizen of this country and a man who understands the intricacies and, of course, the ingredients of governance. From 1960 to date, this is the first time we are having a president who comes from a business environment, who comes with a business mentality, somebody who has engaged himself in the management of both finances and, of course, enterprise manager. The rest from independent, if you can take your mind back, are people who are always motivated or prompted to go into the presidency. You know, so this is the first time somebody is coming from a mindset of a mentality of business, a mentality of growth and opportunity, a mentality of enterprise management, you know. So this is the difference, and he has exhibited that difference from the first day he was inaugurated, like the issue of the fuel subsidy. It takes a man with that level of conviction to be able to come out boldly on the first day of his inauguration and in his inaugural speech to say that subsidy is impossible. So for him to do that, and his credentials, he's a financial strategist, so I have a very strong hope, and I'm also talking to a whole lot of people, and I plead with Nigerians, whatever it is, we should stand up to support this, because this is the real symbol of democracy. And I stand with this.
With all of those good words, how confident are you about President Tinubu's ability to turn things around for better in the country?
You see, it has nothing to do with his pedigree, his experience. He's a president, and he has a lot of people who are going to work with him. For example, let me give you an example. The immediate past president, President Muhammad Buhari, is a man loaded with integrity. Is a man who meant well and still mean well for this country. And unfortunately, the leadership recruitment process in his regime was faulty, because some persons who had nothing to do with government were recruited into our national institutions. And those persons, especially ministers and heads of MDS, ministry, department, and agencies of government, they now felt that those appointments given to them as a minister, that the ministry is a souvenir. Some of them saw their positions as being a buffet table. So they were working, some stayed for as long as 8 years without being supervised, and there was nothing like law and order. Regulations and laws relating to public procurement, the issues of accountability was relegated to the background because nobody was supervising. So these people conducted themselves in a way and manner that the various ministries, the institution they represented, deteriorated. And as we speak today, they have been dilapidated. Some ministers will go and bring even their dry cleaners to become their SS on special duties. People who were doing dry cleaning for them before they became ministers. Some will even recruit all manners of persons to work with them. So it was a fiefdom for most of them, and that's why very few of them succeeded. And the extent of that success is what we cannot manage. And at the other level of the presidency, the president performed, but he was unable to inform. So his inability to inform as much as he performed at the level of his presidency also became a problem. So what this government is to face is that, yes, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a very good man, is a strategist, he means well, he has been developing templates. All he needs to do is to elevate the template of Lagos, which of course is a sustainable development target. He has to develop it for Nigeria. But in developing that, he needs to attend to the issue of the recruitment of the right people into our national institutions. Once the right people are not recruited into right places, that's where the house will start falling.
You just raised a very valid point, and that will lead me to my next question. I mean, a new administration is in place, but the government's institutions remain the same. But how can the president ensure that these institutions key into his policies?
Can you come up there again?
How can a new administration is in place, so also the government's institutions remain the same? How can the president ensure that these institutions key into his policies?
Well, it has to do with this recruitment process. When you, for example, if you recruit a minister, the minister must be supervised. There must be a template. There must be a milestone for the minister to account. Leadership is a responsibility that must be accounted for. Leadership is not a gift. It must be earned. And at any given time, we must be able to make sure that we don't allow our national institutions to be invaded by mercantilist public servants. We will make sure that the institutions of our government at all times must have a direction. It should be able to give in this direction. Value is a function of cost. So this must be attended to through supervision. And two, there must be enforcement of law and order. For example, the president just made a policy statement that, look, subsidy is impossible. We agree subsidy is possible. And I understand too that the subsidy ends by the end of June. The issue is, by the time the president made that comment, as a private person, I expected that the NNPC, security agencies would be on standby. Because the petrol, which is selling now at 600 naira, 550, and all of that, is already a subsidized petrol. It's already subsidized. It was paid for. The subsidy regime has not finished. The withdrawal of the subsidy, as a matter of fact, practically has not yet been effected. So the petrol that the marketers are selling now, of course, are petrol or fuel or products which were already subsidized. And if the security agencies were to work together with the state oil assets, like the NNPC, I want to believe that there would have been an exit where this thing could be done in such a way that will mitigate, on the impact of the withdrawal of the subsidy on the citizens. But as we are now, nobody's doing anything. Every filling station is fixing the rate at any cost. Subsidy, you and I know, and everybody is aware, is the best thing. The withdrawal is the best thing to happen to this country. And I liken it, to a situation whereby you drive a very huge, big car. To fill the tank is about 100 liters. And you fill the tank twice in a week. What government does is that government is subsidizing 200 liters of fuel for an individual who is already rich. But Toyota Coaster bus, for example, has capacity to carry 55 liters of fuel. And from Kubwa to the FCT, for the sake of carrying workers to work, it carries 30 workers. And when it's going back at the close of work, it carries 30, that is 60. That 55 liters on that coaster bus will run for 5 days, Monday through Friday. So that means that 60 persons a day that coaster is carrying times 5 days of the week. So what it does is that it's carrying 300. It's carrying 300 workers. So what government is subsidizing, they are subsidizing 55 liters of fuel for 300 people, whereas the other individual who is living in affluence, government is subsidizing for 200 liters. And also putting it differently, I understand the way citizens are feeling generally. I'm also feeling the pitch because I'm also in the streets. But we must also pay attention to the fact that if, for example, we are living in a community where there is no road, every year that's how we have been living. So the community people become used to very bad roads, very bad community, no water, no light, there is no access road. And now government comes to do that road, to plant poles for electricity, to sink boreholes or to run pipes for water. For water. Now the people start complaining. They will start planting deities, shrines on the access road. But when that road is completed, it becomes a dual carriageway. The community will enjoy. They will enjoy the water with the reticulation. Everybody will enjoy the water. Everybody will also enjoy the electricity. So that is what it is. So if the withdrawal of this subsidy is intended to attend to critical issues that the president mentioned, education, health, security, and infrastructure, we will be better off as a people. And we cannot continue to pretend forever. But what the president will need to do is that his courage in conviction must be matched by the caliber and the quality of persons recruited into various national institutions. For example, now, the political party APC has done the internal political party management by proposing, National Assembly principal officers as a majority party. And the president possibly have also given consent to that, which is applauded. So when you begin to see, for example, permit me to use this as an example, you need the legislative framework and the legal framework to implement a lot of the policies of the president. Because by the effect of Section 4 sub 1, the legislative powers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is vested in the Senate and the House of Representatives. So the quality of leadership of the National Assembly is very key here because of the legislative and the legal framework. So when Senator Godswill Obodo-Kpabio and Jibrin Barau were chosen or nominated, in fact, it is across party line, which I really appreciate, and I want to thank the senators-elect across parties for standing up to be able to get this connection. Those who are saying that, no, the party ought not to interfere, are those people who are preparing to eat omelette without breaking egg. And that is not, as a matter of fact, possible. So when you see that level of the quality of leadership they are proposing, you now know that they are in to create an atmosphere where the National Assembly will work in tandem with supporting the very good blueprint of the presidency. And this must have to be done. So such recruitment should reflect in every aspect of the recruitment process into our national institutions.
About the caliber of persons to be recruited in this administration, let me bring up this debate about the need for strong institutions rather than strong men in governance. How will you advise President Tinubu to strengthen government institutions?
Read that, please.
All right. There is this debate about the need for strong institutions rather than strong men in governance. How will you advise President Tinubu to strengthen government institutions?
I have already said this in my earlier position. You know, the issue of strong men is a consequence of lack of supervision. It's a consequence of recruiting people on primordial basis. In fact, it's an outcome of bigotry. You take somebody who has never done anything in his life to go and be a minister for agriculture or go and be a minister for water resources. Meanwhile, the economic recovery growth plan hinges on the issue of diversification, which agriculture will be the main base. Say, oh, the president said there is going to be commodity board. The commodity board cannot function without the activation by the recruitment of proper people into Ministry of Water Resources and Agriculture. Because by the time, I'm talking from experience, I finished as the chairman of one of the river basins. And in that place, as we speak, is supposed to be a catalyst to trigger smart agriculture, to be able to complement the efforts of government. But government have taken lands from communities over years, and you have about 12 river basin development authority in this country. You need those agencies to be able to trigger the produce. And that is from the produce, encouragement, community-based collaboration. These things will come up. That's where the produce board will be functional. But when you go and bring people who will come and they are engaged in the business of auctioning government assets, like the tractors, like the bulldozers, what government, the implements that should be used to empower farmers, but they are busy auctioning it as unserviceable assets. You will see a situation where a budget is provided for tractors to be bought and sent across to various river basins. And before those tractors are even supplied, they have been sold on auction. And if you complain and raise your voice, they will tell you that you have breached the public service rule. And it goes for that. You go to law enforcement agency to go and complain that this is what is going on. They will not say anything because they are busy going into interagency rivalries. We have a lot of problems. So it's not all about the president. The president has a very good intention, but he should match that intention with background checks and high-profile scrutiny of people. And when you are talking about people with capacity, we are not talking about mercantilists. We are not talking about political mercantilists, because these people are merchants of poverty. And we cannot allow them access. We cannot allow them, because in Nigerian society, as we speak, I mean, we need oxygen. We need oxygen to come back to life. The Nigerian society, the average Nigerian man in the street, the average graduate, the average old man in the street, they have abandoned government. They say, we don't want this government, let them take it. That has been the situation in the past. So we need to be able to ginger, energize, and resurrect the legitimacy of government by giving confidence and hope to the people. That will be substantially in compliance with the provision of the Constitution, which of course espoused that the primary purpose of government is the security and the welfare of the citizens. So the president must take up from that point. Marching orders, the enforcement of rules and regulation and orders, making sure that the National Assembly already is led by the day. That has nothing to do with the president, because the governors recruit the cronies to come to the National Assembly, and these are cronies. The only constituents they know is the governor. They go back, hold meetings with the governor. Anytime the governors want to have phantom commissioning of projects that are present there, constituency briefing and constituency interaction, residency advocacy program with the constituents is no longer there, because the governor has a final say on who goes where and who should not go to anywhere. So that also becomes a very big problem. So in most cases, when you recruit somebody, the way he came to the National Assembly must have been suspect. And the person becomes a member of the House of Representatives, for example, and if he ends up being the highest ranking person from that.
You talked about interagency rivalry, which is a bane of efficient operations in the country. But how do we ensure smooth cooperation among agencies in the country?
It still has to be the issue of leadership recruitment. You can't go and bring an Inspector General of Police who is only interested in the budget, building malls, who is interested in building guest houses, building hotels, to be Inspector General. He has no business there. You cannot go and recruit a chief of army staff who is also competing with the others to build malls, to build a university, and to do other things outside security. You cannot go and recruit a chief of naval staff who is interested in who should be posted on foreign assignment, who should go and meet go and participate in bunkering activities. I am from Eket in Eyiboh State, an oil-producing community. For you to be posted offshore on the mobile platform, you need to be the good boy of the chief of naval staff. I can tell you that for free. And these things cannot work. The person who is the chairman or the MD of NNPC, is he telling me that a young man who was a director now suddenly become executive director and all of that. Even the people in Nupeng, Pegasan and all of that, most of them are truckers. They are agents. They also they have trucks carrying fuel from depot. Some of them, they have their licenses, which they use. So all of them are involved in what is going on. So it's a very dirty cartel. When they come back to sit down and tell us as Nigerians that, oh, this is international price, this is this, that is that, the people are corrupt, outrightly corrupt. If they were not, or in a normal system, we're supposed to have security agencies doing background checks on these people. And after the background checks, they will report it to the president to act on. But they are not doing that. They are not doing that. They are diverting the attention of... There are a lot of insecurity problems in this country. Most of these questions, most of this insecurity is an outcome of aboriginal questions. And that is a subject of demographic intelligence that security agencies ought to do. But most of them are not doing because of the way these people are recruited. And when they become head of such institutions, they recruit people who are in their own cabal to go to subnational. So it's a merry-go-round. So at the end of the day, we suffer the consequence of it. That's why we are having a dilapidated institutions. I told you how a minister employed his former dry cleaner to become a special assistant to him on special duties. What are these special duties that a dry cleaner is going to perform? So the institutions have been dilapidated, has been deteriorated, has gone to a place that all my hope now is that we are going to have a national assembly, the national assembly of our future, the national assembly that will be able to revive and resurrect us, a national assembly that through oversight, through appropriation, a national assembly with legislative framework, they will be able to remove the Nigerian society from this life support and give us the oxygen. Because the president is capable, the president is ready, the president is committed. We should allow him to demonstrate it, but he must do this to institutions first.
All right. The president has promised to implement the Orosai Commitment Report on Civil Service. How critical is this for the needed reforms in the country? Honorable.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry.
The president has promised to implement the Orosai Commitment Report on Civil Service. How critical is this for the needed reforms in the country?
Well, these reforms will have is also, you see, when you are talking about reforms do not occur in the vacuum. The templates have been set, the Orosai's report, the templates have been set. It's just like a Ways report. The templates have been set, these things are in place. For example, the willingness, the political will to be able to say, look, remove third fund. Go and join third fund with JAM, for example. Remove this one, go and join with this one. The other one, you are saying that they should be merged together. Maybe a ministry that one of the brothers is, a department or agency of government that one of the brothers is an executive secretary. They will make sure they use their black influence in the black corridor to make sure that that merger becomes impossible. So the issue of the implementation of the reform, no matter how laudable he has been, is as a result of these mercantilists. These people, the level of their corruption and involvement, it has a monstrous dimension. It has a monstrous dimension. And for us to stop this, we must take the energy, we must take the oxygen from them. And the only way we can take the oxygen from them is having strong leadership in the National Assembly. I repeat. But the part that has been taken now with Akpabio and Jibril is a fantastic part. I can use my heart and sign as a collateral that with these two gentlemen, the president is going to have the best of moments. Anything outside that is going to be trading in the market of the absurd.
All right, Honorable Sema, we need to take a break. Tonight we're focusing on national institutions and the leadership question in the Tinubu presidency with the former spokesperson of the House of Representatives, who's also a public affairs commentator, Honorable Sema Eyiboh. We'll continue this conversation after this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Politics Tonight, and I still have with me a former spokesperson of the House of Representatives, also a public affairs commentator, Honorable Sema Eyiboh. Tonight we're focusing our attention on national institutions and the leadership question in the Tinubu presidency. All right, Honorable, now one arm of government that is critical to policy formulation is the National Assembly. But with about 7 political parties represented in the incoming administration, how guaranteed is unity of purpose in this dispensation?
Yeah, I can tell you that we have always been having the issue of a mix of politics and governance. This is the first time that politics has ended after the election. Where we are now is the issue of governance. I can give you an example. APC, for example, have very strong leadership, strong character as an institution. And the management of its affairs has been able to stabilize it and raise the consciousness of its membership. And that is where the supremacy of the party and the pride of members are deriving their strength from. And the other political parties, if you look at, for example, now, the total number of APC senators, I think are 50 plus. But if you look at those who have signed in to the Akpabio-Jibrin proposals, aspiration, there are 80 plus, meaning that there are other members of the other political parties. So our people are beginning to understand the gamut of governance. There is difference between politics and governance. Politics stops the very moment the political party management and election ends. Politics stops there. Governance commences the moment you are admitted on the oath of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. To the extent that you shall not engage in any ill will. And by the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, Article 25, it emphasizes on the issue of participation. The preamble of our Nigerian Constitution is saying that we, the people of Nigeria, it didn't say we, the people of APC, PDP, or LP, or SDP. It's talking about we, the people of Nigeria. So the preamble of that Constitution is in the heart of our unity as a people. So when once we are admitted to that oath of that Constitution, you have suddenly migrated to become part and parcel of that Section 4. So if you read Section 4 of our Constitution, the community reading of Section 4, and of course, Chapter 2, Section 14, Sub 14, 1A and B, you know, if the community reading of that will tell you the importance of these institutions. And going further, the Constitution has domesticated from the international civil and political rights. I've also gone ahead to say something that, emphasizing on participation. This is all about the people, because the sovereignty belongs to the people. It has nothing to do with political party. So the way it is going now, politics is going back to the backwaters, and governance is coming to the table. And take note, it's only a man like Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu who will be able to wake up on the day of his inauguration and said subsidy has been withdrawn. Subsidy is not possible. And this country is still peaceful. People are still going about doing that thing. Because of the love people have for him. Because people understand he has a pedigree, he has a background. They saw him when he was in Lagos as a governor. They have seen series
Honorable Sema, as a former spokesperson of the House of Representatives, how would you react to the battle for leadership of the National Assembly?
It's very democratic. The aspirations of all those people who are looking for are very democratic. But what I'm saying, however, is that the corridor should not be open for those who are in for commercial leadership. We should not allow mercantilist politicians to now want to seek the various offices of leadership, because what they are and what they are looking for, they don't want to become leaders. We know them to be dealers. So because they are dealers, if they assume position of leadership, they will engage in dealership. And if they engage in dealership, we all understand what dealership is all about. Profiteering. And if we continue to go that way, it means that we have subjected our institutions to further depreciation, further dilapidation. And the only way we can stop it is to talk to various representatives at the various levels that, look, Nigeria is alive. Nigeria has been resurrected. And let's watch and see what is the greatness of this country is in our unity and strength. And we cannot allow do-gooders to now come to create a black corridor to find themselves in and promote the enterprise of dealership.
So, Honorable SMA, with how honest you've been with me on the show today, do you agree with those who say the last National Assembly was more of a rubber stamp?
Well, when you are talking about rubber stamp, I can only be a rubber stamp. I can only be your rubber stamp because of known and established deficiency of mine in terms of leadership. Before I become your own rubber stamp, care must have been taken in picking you to achieve certain purposes that may not be for the general good. But why the current National Assembly, under the chairmanship, may God make that possible, under the chairmanship of Senator Godswill Akpabio and Jibrin Barawo, is because these people are essentially balanced diets. Akpabio and Barawo and Jibrin are essential balanced diets that will be able to trigger robust legislative engagement that will bring out the best from the institution, because they have pedigree, they have experience, they have capacity, they are creative. Because this is all about creativity, it's all about idea, it's all about, integrity and all of that. So they will never be rubber stamp. And in a presidency of a man who knows what he is doing, Jagaban is gargantuan. He's a gargantuan Jagaban. And at all times, what he represents is everything large, everything productive, everything that people must copy from, including innovations. So I have no doubt in my mind that the era of rubber stamping is gone, if it goes the way it is going now.
So, everything points to the fact that as a country, we are broke. Debt servicing accounting for 96% of our revenue. What should we be doing that we're not doing?
Well, you see, when we talk about corruption, corruption is not a tree which is planted in a particular compound or a seed you can buy from a particular supermarket. Corruption is very generic. There are state institutions that the money that they spend is enough to be able to activate and trigger socio-economic activities. Look at like NNPC, for example. This subsidy, what is the total number of liters, consumption level of our fuel? Nobody knows. Every year you come and see people on the television saying this country will consuming 16 million metric tons, which is not correct. But with the withdrawal of subsidy now, we will know the consumption level because we actually know the consumers. And the issue, I'm still giving that so that you understand where we got it wrong. Who are the people importing this fuel? In most cases, the petroleum products, they recycle it. The mothership will bring it, they will come offshore, and that will be received. And after the receipt of that product goes back again, maybe to Cote d'Ivoire, or go somewhere and comes back again. So they do round tripping. And we are paying for it. And who are the people receiving it? They are agents of government. And the people who are benefiting is a one small cabal that they continue to live on it. They live in Transcorp for as many years as possible. And all of that. And the rest are going to hospitals without even money to buy cards. You must also be aware that, look at the time we started with the telecommunication. There are certain telecommunication, one of the telecommunication company that came in to make a call was send a message was 25 naira. You are aware of it when it started. But when we now had more than 3, 4, 5 telecommunication companies, today you see most of the telecommunication companies even asking you a woof to subscribe for a woof. Some they have reduced the tariff to at most it's 4 naira, sending messages. So there's going to come a time that the real importers of petroleum products will come, and they will take their money, bring it in, they compete among themselves. You and I will have a choice of which station to go and buy. The other station where there is no adjustment, the other station, the quality of the fuel is bad, and all of that. We are all going to do it like business. That is why the removal of the subsidy has multifarious positive attention. So corruption in that regime, the money these people are stealing is enough to build refineries, not even to maintain the existing refineries, if any is existing. You know, state assets have been sold. State assets have been sold. So we must rise up as a people to support Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It means well. It means well.
About independent judiciary. Honorable Samuel, let's talk about independent judiciary, which is key for democracy. And the president has promised to reform the arm of government. How will you advise him to go about this?
The judiciary, you are asking. Our judiciary, I don't want to say something that by the time I leave here, I'm committed to prison for contempt. But I'll try as much as I can to make sure that I speak within the confines of free speech. But there are a lot of cases and reports going on, especially in electoral matters, where people will go to court for justice, they get judgment. And of course, there is a difference between justice and judgment. And if it continues that way, by the time finally people have lost hope in the judiciary, you begin to have some level of self-help that will constitute a security flash. It happens in places like Brazil some years ago, in Chile, and all of that. So all I want to say, guidedly, is that the Chief Justice of Nigeria, or the President, should be able to also engage the heads of courts in the judiciary and let them understand that the feeling of Nigerians is that they go to court, instead of getting justice, they get judgment. That they should sit up. And not only sitting up, we should be able to get security agencies to investigate some of these judges and let them be tried, not using brigandage. Not using brigandage. Getting straight, getting them, when these things are established, the offenses or whatever it is are established, they should be tried. When once a judge or two are jailed, then the rest will stand up. But what we have in this country are 3 legs on the table. You have the executive, you have the judiciary, you have the judiciary and the legislature. I am very, very comfortable and confident, and I can speak, like I said, using my heart as a collateral. That those 2 legs are fantastic.
Honorable Sebe, in 30 seconds, we're running out of time. Delegated authority is essential for policy implementation, but problematic if not well managed. How will you advise the president on this?
Again, please repeat yourself.
Delegated authority is essential for policy implementation, but problematic if not well managed. How will you advise the president on this? In 30 seconds.
You know, the president is inheriting a lot of persons who are used to using institutions as a cesspool for corruption. The president is coming to meet. He cannot sack everybody. He cannot sack everybody. But he has to now devise a means for supervision. That whatever policy he has to engage the various levels. If he wants to come up with a particular policy, he will engage the National Assembly, engage the Judiciary to now be able to understand how they will have to. Because in the course of implementing of these policies, some of them are going to be very harsh. And if somebody is involved, or an individual or an institution, you take to court. If you don't have a buy-in of the judiciary, they will say for whatever one reason or the other, the person has been discharged and acquitted. So you see a situation where people are undergoing trials for 7 years, 10 years for corruption, high-profile corruption involving a lot of money. Who are you going to sack? But you see a man who breached a traffic rule, or a young man who is able to engage in affray. He's tried under 1 month, and some of them are in prison, some of them are waiting trials, and all of that. So we should be able to create an atmosphere in the enforcement of these policies, no matter how hard they are. There must be enforcement of the law, and there must be a buy-in from all the institutions. But so far, so good. I can tell you, the National Assembly, under those leadership, essentially a good connecting rod to be able to jumpstart a governance we'll all be proud of.
Very much. Honorable Eyiboh, former spokesperson of the House of Representatives, is also a public affairs commentator. Tonight we discuss the national institutions and the leadership question in the Tinubu presidency. Thank you very much, Honorable, for coming on the program tonight, and I look forward to more conversation with you. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Good night.
Itchy, greasy, and smelly braids can be a thing of the past. Introducing the new Ruwa braids from Expression. Made with 100% Aquatex fiber from Canicolon. The new Ruwa braids from Expression is extremely fast drying and perfect for friction-free washing. Stay dry this season with the new Ruwa braids from Expression. Now available in pre-stretch and regular braid variants and in beauty shops near you.
It's always a great morning on the TVC Breakfast Show.
Thanks for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
With the array of stories that matter and what's behind them.
As you say, the first blow indicates the direction of government.
Tell us what really is going on between your union and the federal government.
Once it's generated,
if you don't use it, it's waste. We are not even sure whether we have a strategy for security.
Are you saying that there was nothing wrong in that?
Was he the one?